So, we all know about Napoleon Hill's legendary 13 steps to riches, right? But what if I told you one of them is like the central control room, the operational headquarters where your desire and faith get transformed into actual, concrete plans? Today, we're diving deep into step 12, the brain, and how Hill believed it's basically the most powerful broadcasting station in the entire universe.
All right, let's really unpack this. Because this one idea, it's the key to the whole 12 step. And you gotta understand, Hill wasn't just being poetic here. He's suggesting that our minds are quite literally two-way radios, constantly sending and receiving thought vibrations on some kind of universal network. This idea is the bedrock for everything he says about creativity and attraction. So this is where we really start to dig into the nuts and bolts of this mental radio station. I mean, for his time, this was a pretty radical idea. He believed your brain wasn't just a storage container for your thoughts, but an active communication device, one that's always interacting with other people's thoughts, and this huge reservoir of knowledge he called infinite intelligence. Think of it like this. Your mind has two jobs happening all the time. On the broadcasting side, whatever you're thinking about most, your dominant thoughts, are getting sent out into the world. They act like a magnet, pulling their physical match right to you, whether that's wealth or something you don't want. Then you have the receiving side, where your brain is like an antenna, picking up thoughts from other people and those little hunches or flashes of inspiration that just seem to pop into your head out of nowhere. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Literally, if our brain is always on, always broadcasting, what decides if our signal is strong and clear, or just a bunch of static? Hill argues that not all thoughts are the same. Some are just faint whispers. But others? Others are powerful, magnetic broadcasts that can totally reshape your reality. And the difference all comes down to one crucial ingredient. And this, right here, is the absolute game changer in Hill's theory. He says thoughts that just come from cold reason have almost zero broadcasting power. They're static. It's only when you take a thought and you supercharge it with intense emotion, we're talking faith, love, a burning desire, that's when it gets magnetized. Those are the thoughts your subconscious grabs onto and broadcasts with enough force to actually pull in the real-world equivalent.
Okay, so if raw emotion is what gives our thoughts their punch, how do we crank up the volume on that signal? Hill didn't just leave this as an abstract idea. He pointed to two specific, incredibly powerful amplifiers for your thoughts, two methods to make sure your mental broadcast can't possibly be ignored. First up, we have the mastermind principle. Now, this is way more than just a weekly team meeting. It's about creating a deep, harmonious alliance with people who are on the exact same page as you. The economic benefit is obvious, right? You get to tap into their experience and connections. But the psychic feature, that's where the real magic happens. Hill claims that when minds link up in perfect harmony, they create this invisible third mind, an energy source that every single person in that group can draw power from. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It gets to the very core of why that alliance is so crucial. Hill's point is that it's not just about sharing ideas. You are literally absorbing the mental energy of the people you hang out with. You start to think like them, you pick up their habits, you even tap into their power of thought. That's why choosing your mastermind group is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. All right, buckle up for this next one, because amplifier number 2 is, without a doubt, the most surprising, maybe even controversial idea in the entire book. Hill states, flat out, that the most powerful of all human emotions is the emotion of sex, and that this incredible creative energy, when you learn how to harness it, is the main fuel for genius. And the key word here, the one you really need to latch onto, is transmutation. This is not about suppressing that energy. It's about taking that incredibly powerful drive and redirecting it, channeling it away from a purely physical act and into other creative pursuits. So instead of just being used up, it can fuel art, invention, leadership, and yes, the accumulation of massive fortunes. And Hill was adamant that this wasn't just some wild theory he cooked up. He did his research, and based on his analysis of history's heavy hitters, he concluded that the men who achieved the most, people like Washington, Shakespeare, Lincoln, were all known to have this highly developed, powerful drive. He saw it as a common thread running through the world's greatest leaders and creators. So, okay, we've got these two massive power-ups, the mastermind and this transmuted creative energy. But what's the point? What's the end game here? What happens when you successfully boost your brain's vibratory rate to its absolute peak?
Well, this is where your little personal radio station finally tunes in to the universal broadcast. This, right here, is the ultimate payoff. A mind that's highly stimulated, vibrating at a super high frequency, can tap into what Hill called infinite intelligence. Think of it like a cosmic cloud server that holds every idea, every bit of knowledge, and every solution that ever was or ever will be. This is where real genius comes from. It's where brand new ideas are born, not just old ones getting recycled. And this isn't just wishful thinking. Hill actually gives us a 3-step process. First, you stimulate your mind. Use those amplifiers we talked about to get it buzzing on a higher plane. Second, you concentrate. You focus on the problem, on what you know, and you form a crystal clear picture of the answer you're looking for. And finally, and this part is so important, you relax. You clear your mind and just wait for the answer to flash into your head like a bolt of lightning. So, what do you call this incredible ability to just download knowledge from the universe, to get these flashes of inspiration that solve impossible problems? Well, Hill has a name for it. It's the development and activation of your sixth sense.
He called it the sixth sense, or sometimes the creative imagination. And he saw it as the absolute peak of his entire philosophy. This is the part of your mind that functions as the receiving set. When you develop this sense, your brain becomes a direct channel for genius. You start receiving ideas and plans that your logical mind could never have come up with on its own.
And really, after all of that, after the broadcasting, the amplifiers, the infinite intelligence, it all boils down to this one simple, powerful fact. You have absolute control over one thing and one thing only, your thoughts. Everything else starts there. Mastering your outer world begins with mastering your inner world. That's the one power you truly, completely possess.
So what all this really shows us is that your mind, your thoughts, they aren't just happening quietly inside your head. According to Hill, they are an active, creative force, constantly broadcasting a signal out into the universe and shaping the reality that you experience day in and day out. Which leaves us with just one question. What are you broadcasting?